The airport was alive with the usual sounds of rolling luggage, murmuring passengers, and the occasional announcement over the loudspeakers. Travelers moved quickly through the terminal, some chatting with friends, others staring at their phones, and a few lost in thought as they waited for their flights. Among all the busy people was a man who seemed slightly out of place but carried himself with calm dignity. His name was Daniel Harris, and he was in a wheelchair. Daniel was not a man who wanted attention. His movements were slow and deliberate, but he had a quiet confidence that made him seem in control of his surroundings. His wheelchair was new and sleek, with polished metal arms and a soft, leather-like seat. The footrest was carefully designed, wide enough to support his legs comfortably, and padded so that his feet rested easily. Daniel had checked in hours earlier, and now he was waiting to pass through customs. He had nothing to hide, but he had learned over the years that airports were places where patience and calm could make the difference between a smooth day and a stressful one. At customs, officers were busy inspecting luggage and questioning travelers. Some passengers were nervous, shuffling their feet as officers glanced through bags. Others seemed relaxed, chatting casually as officers ran scanners and conducted routine checks. Among the officers was Rex, a large German shepherd with sleek fur and sharp eyes. Rex was highly trained, known for his ability to detect things that no human could sense. Drugs, explosives, contraband. Rex could sniff them all. He had worked at the airport for years, and his handlers trusted his instincts completely. Daniel approached the checkpoint slowly, his hands resting lightly on the wheels of his chair. He greeted the officers politely and followed their instructions, moving carefully between the lines that marked the inspection area. Rex's handler, Officer Martinez, gave the dog a small signal, and Rex began to work. He moved quickly from passenger to passenger, sniffing suitcases, backpacks, and carry-on items. Each person received a routine inspection, and Rex's tail wagged slightly whenever he found nothing suspicious. When Rex got closer to Daniel, something unusual happened. The dog stopped suddenly, his body stiffening in place. His ears perked, and his nose twitched in a way that drew Officer Martinez's attention immediately. The dog was frozen in front of Daniel's wheelchair, refusing to move forward or back. Officer Martinez frowned. This was not normal behavior. Rex was trained to inspect thoroughly, but he had never refused to move without reason. The officers exchanged glances. They had seen Rex react to dangerous items before, but this time, there was no obvious reason for the dog to stop. Daniel noticed the pause and remained calm. He did not fidget or panic. Instead, he waited patiently, trusting the process. His experience at airports had taught him that getting nervous never helped. The officers carefully stepped closer, trying not to startle Rex. The dog's intense focus was fixed on the wheelchair, and it became clear that something unusual had caught his attention. Officer Martinez knelt beside Rex, speaking softly to calm the dog. Rex's gaze remained locked on the footrest of Daniel's wheelchair. The other officers joined, their curiosity piqued. It was unusual for Rex to react this way without a clear reason. They knew that they needed to investigate further. Daniel followed their lead, cooperating fully, his hands resting calmly on the wheelchair's arms. He answered the officers' polite questions about his travel and explained that the wheelchair was his own. He had recently purchased it online, and it had been delivered a few weeks ago. With Daniel's consent, the officers began to examine the wheelchair carefully. They started with the frame, inspecting the metal bars and wheels, checking for any hidden compartments or irregularities. Everything seemed normal at first. The wheelchair looked clean and well-made, with no signs of tampering. Yet Rex remained fixated on the footrest. The dog's behavior was so unusual that the officers could not ignore it. They moved on to the seat, lifting cushions and checking under the padding. Still, nothing seemed out of place. Rex's nose twitched faster, and his body remained tense, signaling that he had detected something important. The tension in the area grew slightly. Passengers nearby noticed the activity and slowed down, curious but careful not to interfere. Officer Martinez spoke softly to Rex, praising him for his attention and urging him to stay calm. Rex responded slightly, shifting his weight but keeping his focus on the footrest. The officers decided to remove the padding covering the footrest to see if there was something hidden beneath. They worked carefully, making sure not to damage the wheelchair while examining every possible angle dot as the padding was lifted. A small irregularity became apparent. There was a seam that did not match the rest of the wheelchair's design. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but Rex's reaction now made sense. The dog had detected a hidden compartment, something that human eyes might easily miss. Officer Martinez signaled the other officers to be ready for a more thorough inspection. Daniel watched quietly, his calm demeanor never changing. He knew that the officers were doing their job and trusted that truth would be revealed. The officers opened the small compartment carefully. Inside, there were neatly wrapped packages. The sight caused a brief moment of shock as the officers realized this was not a normal wheelchair feature. The packages were hidden with precision, and it was clear that someone had gone to great lengths to conceal them. Rex remained alert, his instincts guiding the officers to a discovery they might have missed without his help. Daniel's expression remained calm. He explained again that he had no knowledge of any hidden items and that he had purchased the wheelchair second-hand. His tone was steady, his explanation consistent. The officers, while focused on the discovery, appreciated Daniel's composure. They knew that nervous or deceptive behavior often revealed the truth, but Daniel seemed genuine. Rex was praised quietly by Officer Martinez. The dog had done exactly what he was trained to do, alert the officers to something that might have gone unnoticed. It was a reminder of the unique bond between humans and working dogs, and how trust in their instincts could prevent serious incidents. Passengers nearby continued to watch discreetly, some whispering about the unusual scene, but no one interfered. The inspection at the checkpoint continued carefully. The officers documented every detail, photographing the hidden compartment and the items inside. Daniel cooperated fully, answering questions calmly and providing all necessary information. His patience and trust in the process made the inspection smoother and more efficient. The tension that had briefly risen began to ease as the officers realized that the situation was under control. Thanks to Rex's keen senses, by the time the inspection ended, the officers had gathered all the information they needed. Daniel's wheelchair was set aside for further analysis, but he was allowed to continue his journey through the airport. Rex remained nearby, tail wagging slightly, proud of the work he had done. Daniel thanked the officers politely and moved toward his gate, appreciating the professionalism and care shown by the customs. The event at the checkpoint left a lasting impression on everyone involved. For Daniel, it was a reminder that even ordinary moments could turn into extraordinary experiences. For the officers, it reinforced the value of trained detection dogs and careful attention to detail. And for Rex, it was another successful day on the job, proving once again that his instincts were unmatched. Even as Daniel wheeled away, people remembered the unusual scene: a man in a wheelchair, a customs dog frozen in place, and a hidden discovery that made everyone pause. It was a story of patience, precision, and trust in trained animals. In the process, and in the calmness of a man who had nothing to hide. The airport continued its busy rhythm, but the moment lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed it, a quiet reminder of the unexpected surprises life sometimes holds in ordinary places. The officers carefully guided Daniel's wheelchair to a quieter area near the customs inspection zone. Though the crowd had thinned a little, a few passengers still watched from a distance, whispering in low tones. They were curious about what had caused the dog to freeze so abruptly. Rex remained close, alert and focused, as if he understood that something serious was about to be revealed. His ears twitched at every sound, and his nose continued to point toward the footrest of the wheelchair. Officer Martinez gestured to his colleagues to remain calm and methodical. "We need to check every detail," he said softly, his eyes never leaving Rex. The dog's reaction had already pointed them towards something unusual, and now it was their job to discover exactly what was hidden. Daniel remained silent, letting the officers do their work. He knew that any sudden movements or interference could make the process slower or more complicated. His hands rested gently on the wheelchair arms, his face composed, showing patience and understanding. The team began with a thorough inspection of the footrest. They ran their hands along the surface, feeling for any differences in texture, any gaps that might indicate a hidden space. The padding that covered the footrest was firm but slightly flexible, allowing them to test for hidden sections underneath. Officer Martinez carefully lifted one edge of the padding while keeping the dog close, ensuring that Rex could continue sniffing without being distracted. At first, nothing seemed obvious. The compartment was well concealed, designed to blend perfectly with the wheelchair. But Rex's behavior indicated that something was still there. He pawed gently at the edge of the footrest, almost as if he were urging the officers to look closer. The team exchanged glances. "This dog never lies," one officer whispered. "If he's acting this way, there's something hidden, no doubt about it." They continued their search with meticulous care. Every corner of the footrest was examined. They felt the screws, the frame, and the padding, checking for anything unusual. Finally, Officer Martinez noticed a small seam that did not match the rest of the footrest. It was subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but it was enough for the officer to suspect that the padding hid a secret compartment. He gently pressed along the seam, and with careful precision, a small panel slid open. Inside, they found neatly wrapped packages. The sight caused a mixture of surprise and concern among the officers. Each package was tightly sealed, and they were all identical in size. Officer Martinez carefully lifted them out one by one, examining their contents without opening them. They were not ordinary items. Their shape and consistency suggested that the packages contained controlled substances. The officers knew immediately that this was a significant find, one that could have serious legal consequences if it had gone unnoticed. Daniel remained calm throughout the process. He watched silently as the officers worked, occasionally nodding when asked a question. "I don't know anything about this," he explained gently. "I bought this wheelchair from a seller online. I had no idea there was anything hidden inside. It was supposed to be a second-hand wheelchair, nothing more." His voice was steady, and there was no hint of nervousness or deception. The officers took note of his demeanor. Honesty often revealed itself in calm and consistent behavior. Rex, meanwhile, continued to monitor the area. He sniffed around the footrest and then circled the wheelchair once, making sure he had not missed anything. The dog's instincts were flawless, guiding the officers to the exact location of the hidden items. Officer Martinez gave Rex a small pat, praising him quietly. "Good boy, Rex. You found it." "That's exactly right." The dog wagged his tail slightly, satisfied that he had done his job well. The officers then began documenting the scene. They photographed the hidden compartment, the packages, and the way the footrest had been modified. Every detail mattered, especially if this discovery led to a larger investigation. They knew that someone had gone to great lengths to hide the items. The craftsmanship of the hidden compartment suggested planning and precision, indicating that this was not a random act but a deliberate attempt to smuggle contraband. Daniel answered more questions as the officers continued their work. He explained how he had acquired the wheelchair, describing the seller and the delivery process. He emphasized that he had never met the seller in person and had no knowledge of anyone, attempting to use the wheelchair for illegal purposes. The officers listened attentively, recording every detail. His calm and consistent answers helped them focus on the investigation rather than treating him as a suspect. The situation drew attention from nearby passengers and airport staff. Some were curious, stopping to glance at the unusual scene. Others kept their distance, wary of interfering. The officers managed the situation professionally, keeping the area secure and ensuring that Daniel was treated with respect. It was clear that the man in the wheelchair was not the source of the hidden items. Instead, the discovery highlighted the importance of vigilance, careful inspection, and trust in trained detection dogs. As the inspection progressed, Officer Martinez reflected on Rex's training. The dog had been through countless exercises, learning to detect subtle scents and hidden substances. Today, Rex had performed perfectly. His ability to remain focused, even in a busy and noisy airport, was impressive. The dog's instincts had guided the officers to a discovery they might have overlooked without his help. It was a reminder of the unique bond between humans and working dogs, a partnership built on trust, discipline, and skill. The officers carefully secured the packages for further examination. They used gloves and proper containers, ensuring that nothing was contaminated or damaged. Daniel observed quietly, showing patience and understanding. He knew that this process was necessary to ensure safety and security at the airport. He also felt a sense of relief that the discovery had been made by the trained team and not by chance. After the initial inspection, the officers decided to conduct a more thorough check of the wheelchair. They examined the frame, the wheels, and the seat, looking for any other hidden compartments or irregularities. Rex moved alongside them, his nose still alert for any unusual scents. The dog's behavior was consistent, confirming that the footrest was the only area of concern. This gave the officers confidence that the immediate risk had been identified and contained. Daniel's calmness continued to impress the officers. He did not rush or complain, even as the inspection took time. He answered all questions politely and cooperated fully with the process. His behavior reinforced the belief that he was innocent and that he had unknowingly become part of a larger situation. The officers appreciated his patience, recognizing that cooperation and composure could make a significant difference during such investigations. The officers also took note of the footrest's design. It was clear that someone had planned the hidden compartment carefully, disguising it to blend seamlessly with the wheelchair. The precision and care suggested that this was not a one-time attempt but part of a deliberate smuggling effort. The discovery reinforced the importance of Rex's training and the need for thorough inspections. Even in situations that might appear ordinary at first glance. As the inspection concluded, Daniel was allowed to remain in the area while the officers completed their documentation. He sat quietly in his wheelchair, reflecting on the unexpected turn of events. What had started as a routine airport visit had turned into a moment of tension and discovery. He felt grateful that Rex had alerted the officers and that the situation had been handled professionally. The experience reminded him that vigilance, patience, and cooperation could make all the difference in unexpected situations. Finally, the officers thanked Daniel for his cooperation and assured him that the situation would be investigated further to identify those responsible for hiding the packages. Daniel nodded politely, understanding the importance of the process. He had learned that even ordinary items, like a wheelchair, could hide secrets, and that trained professionals and skilled animals could uncover the truth. As Daniel wheeled toward a waiting area, Rex received a final pat from Officer Martinez, his work for the day acknowledged and appreciated. The dog had done exactly what he was trained to do, guiding the officers to a discovery that could have had serious consequences if left undetected. For everyone involved, the moment would remain memorable, a story of patience, precision, and trust in instincts. both human and animal. The passengers and staff who had observed the scene continued their activities. But the unusual events lingered in their minds. A man in a wheelchair, a dog frozen in place, and a hidden discovery, all combined to create a moment of intrigue and awareness. The incident was a reminder that even ordinary places like airports could hold surprises, and that attentiveness, careful inspection, and trained instincts were crucial to keeping everyone safe. After the initial discovery at the airport, the officers moved Daniel and his wheelchair to a more secure inspection room. This was a place used for situations that required careful attention and privacy. The room was quiet compared to the busy terminal outside, and the bright lights illuminated every corner, making it easier for the officers to examine the wheelchair thoroughly. Rex followed closely, staying alert and attentive. His instincts had already led the officers to the hidden compartment, but his handler knew it was important to ensure that nothing had been missed. Daniel remained calm and cooperative. He understood that the process might take some time and that the officers were doing their job to ensure the safety of everyone at the airport. His hands rested on the wheelchair arms, his posture composed as he observed the inspection. He had been through many airport screenings before, but nothing like this had ever happened. Despite the stress of the situation, he kept a polite and respectful demeanor, answering questions clearly and honestly. The officers began by carefully examining every component of the wheelchair. They removed the seat cushions, checked under the frame, and inspected the wheels. Every panel and section was tested for hidden spaces. Rex moved alongside them, sniffing the edges and seams. His behavior was consistent, confirming that the footrest was the only area of concern. The dog's instincts were remarkable. He had detected something that human eyes might never have noticed. And now the officers were ensuring that the rest of the wheelchair was safe. Once satisfied that there were no other hidden compartments, the officers focused on the packages found in the footrest. Each package was labeled and sealed meticulously. The wrapping was designed to conceal the contents completely, but it was clear that someone had put considerable effort into making them undetectable. Officer Martinez carefully handled each package with gloves, ensuring that nothing was damaged. The officers knew that these packages would need to be tested thoroughly to identify their contents. But at this stage, caution and careful documentation were their priorities. Daniel watched silently, listening as the officers discussed their next steps. "We need to analyze these packages and see what they contain," one officer explained to the team. "Also, we must investigate where they came from and who is responsible. This could be part of a larger smuggling operation." Daniel nodded slightly. He had no knowledge of how the items ended up in the wheelchair and was eager to cooperate fully to clear his name. His calm and respectful attitude made it easier for the officers to communicate with him and manage the situation. Professionally, the team decided to contact a specialized unit that handled potential smuggling cases. These experts were trained to deal with controlled substances, hidden compartments, and complex smuggling methods. While waiting for them to arrive, the officers continued documenting every detail of the wheelchair and the packages. Photos were taken from every angle, and notes were recorded meticulously. They also ensured that Rex remained calm and focused, praising him for his keen instincts. Daniel answered questions about his recent purchases. He described the wheelchair seller, the delivery process, and how he had never met the seller in person. He explained that he had chosen the wheelchair for comfort and practicality, not knowing that it had been tampered with. His story was consistent, and his calm demeanor reinforced the officers' belief that he was innocent. They knew from experience that someone who is nervous or deceptive often shows subtle signs of guilt. But Daniel remained composed throughout. As the specialized unit arrived, the inspection became more detailed. Officers used advanced tools to scan the packages and the footrest compartment. They carefully analyzed the materials, looking for anything unusual. The technology helped them confirm that the hidden space had been deliberately created and that the packages were real contraband. It was clear that someone had planned this smuggling attempt carefully. Assuming that a wheelchair would not be thoroughly checked, Rex continued to observe the process, his instincts alert and sharp. He walked around the wheelchair, sniffing every edge, ensuring that nothing had been overlooked. His training had prepared him for situations like this, but the dog's performance exceeded expectations. The officers were impressed by his ability to detect something so well hidden and to remain focused despite the busy airport environment outside the inspection room. The investigation team began tracing the origin of the wheelchair. They contacted the online seller Daniel had mentioned and checked for any history of suspicious sales. They also looked into other purchases from the same seller to see if there were any patterns of hidden compartments. Daniel cooperated fully, providing receipts, emails, and delivery information. His transparency and willingness to assist made the investigation smoother and faster. Meanwhile, the officers considered the possibility that the smuggling attempt was part of a larger criminal network. The packages were carefully wrapped, and the hidden compartment suggested planning and precision. It was likely that the person or group responsible had thought this would be a clever way to move contraband without detection. The discovery in Daniel's wheelchair had prevented a potentially serious crime from reaching its destination. Daniel observed the professionals at work. He realized how meticulous the officers were, how every step was taken with care and caution. He felt grateful for Rex, whose instincts had prevented a dangerous situation from progressing further. Daniel thought about how ordinary objects, like his wheelchair, could sometimes conceal secrets. He had never imagined that something so familiar and personal could hide something so alarming. As hours passed, the investigation progressed. The specialized unit completed their preliminary analysis, confirming that the packages contained controlled substances. The officers documented everything carefully, ensuring that every detail was recorded for potential legal proceedings. They praised Rex quietly, acknowledging that the dog's detection skills had been instrumental in uncovering the hidden items. Daniel remained calm, watching the team work and answering questions when needed. He felt a mix of relief and concern. Relief that he was not responsible for the hidden items, and concern about how someone could have used his wheelchair for smuggling without his knowledge. Despite the stress of the situation, Daniel's patience and understanding helped the officers manage the investigation efficiently. The investigation also included checking other parts of the wheelchair to ensure there were no additional hidden compartments. Officers examined the armrests, the wheels, and the seat base. Rex assisted by sniffing along each section, confirming that the footrest was the only part containing the packages. His consistent behavior provided confidence to the team, knowing that the immediate risk had been identified and contained. Daniel reflected on how unexpected the entire day had been. He had arrived at the airport expecting a routine check and a straightforward journey. Instead, he found himself at the center of a security investigation, his wheelchair revealing something entirely unforeseen. Yet, through patience, cooperation, and the help of trained professionals, the situation was being handled effectively. By the time the inspection room cleared, the officers had a complete record of the wheelchair, the hidden packages, and Daniel's information. They thanked him for his cooperation and reassured him that the situation would be investigated fully to find those responsible for hiding the items. Daniel felt a sense of relief and gratitude. He knew that his patience and calm demeanor had helped the officers do their job efficiently, and that Rex's instincts had prevented a potential crime from progressing. As Daniel wheeled toward a temporary waiting area, He took a moment to reflect on the events. The airport had been busy, filled with people from all over the world. Yet this one unusual situation had captured the attention of everyone involved. The discovery reminded him of the importance of vigilance, careful observation, and trust in trained professionals. It was a lesson he would carry with him for years, knowing that even ordinary moments could reveal extraordinary circumstances. Rex received a final pat from Officer Martinez, his work for the day acknowledged and appreciated. The dog had performed exactly as trained, guiding the officers to a discovery that might otherwise have been missed. Daniel watched with a sense of admiration for Rex's skill and dedication. It was remarkable how an animal could make such a significant difference, using instinct honed through years of training to detect what human senses could not. The other officers continued their work, coordinating with security and investigative units. Daniel remained in the waiting area, his calm presence helping to maintain order and professionalism. Passengers passing by glanced curiously, some whispering about the unusual scene, but none interfered. It was a moment of quiet attention in a busy airport, a reminder of the careful work required to maintain safety and security. As the specialized unit prepared to transport the packages for further analysis, Daniel reflected on the experience. He had learned how critical thorough inspections were and how trained detection dogs like Rex could make a real difference. What had started as a routine day at the airport had turned into an unforgettable lesson in vigilance, professionalism, and the unexpected ways that life can surprise you, even as the investigation moved forward. After the preliminary inspection and documentation, the airport investigation team decided it was time to question Daniel more thoroughly. They wanted to ensure they had all the information needed to trace the origin of the hidden packages and determine whether Daniel had any knowledge of them. Daniel remained calm, understanding the importance of answering every question clearly and honestly. His composure impressed the officers, who could see that he genuinely had no connection to the concealed items. The questioning began in a small, secure office adjacent to the inspection area. Daniel wheeled himself into the room, his movements steady and confident. The officers seated themselves across from him, spreading out their notes, photographs of the wheelchair, and records of the packages discovered. Rex stayed nearby, lying on the floor but alert, occasionally glancing up at Daniel as if confirming that the situation was under control. Officer Martinez started the conversation. "Mr. Harris, we understand you recently purchased this wheelchair. Can you tell us more about the seller?" Daniel nodded politely. "Yes, I bought it online through a second-hand marketplace. The seller had positive reviews, and the wheelchair seemed perfect for my needs. I never met him in person. It was delivered to my apartment a few weeks ago." His voice was calm, steady, and unhesitant. The officers took careful notes, asking follow-up questions. Daniel explained the delivery process, the packaging, and the moment he first used the wheelchair. "It seemed normal at the time," he said. "I had no idea anything could be hidden inside. I only noticed that it was comfortable and easy to maneuver. I've been using it daily without any problems." The officers listened attentively. They were trained to detect inconsistencies in stories, that Daniel's account was consistent and believable. There were no signs of nervousness, hesitation, or dishonesty. His calm demeanor reinforced their belief that he was an innocent participant in a situation orchestrated by someone else. Meanwhile, Rex remained vigilant. The dog's presence had a calming effect on the team, reminding everyone of the importance of patience and observation. Rex had already identified the hidden compartment, and his continued alertness reassured the officers that no other areas of the wheelchair were suspicious. The dog's instincts had guided the investigation so far, and the officers trusted that he would signal if anything else required attention. The team then discussed the packages. They had conducted preliminary tests to confirm that the contents were controlled substances, but further laboratory analysis would be necessary. The packages had been expertly concealed, indicating that whoever placed them there had knowledge of smuggling techniques. The officers knew that this was part of a larger operation, and that tracing the origin would require meticulous effort. Daniel answered additional questions about his routine, travel plans, and any recent interactions related to the wheelchair. "I have no connection to anyone who would do this," he explained. "I just needed a wheelchair that would help me move easily. I didn't think twice about the purchase, and I never expected anything like this to happen." His answers were clear, precise, and without contradiction, which helped the officers focus on the evidence rather than suspecting Daniel. The officers then reviewed the timeline of events. They considered when the wheelchair had been purchased, when it was delivered, and how it had been transported to the airport. They realized that the packages could have been placed by the seller or someone involved in a larger smuggling operation. The goal now was to identify the individuals responsible and ensure that the substances did not reach their intended destination. While the investigation continued, Daniel reflected on the experience. He thought about how ordinary objects, like a wheelchair, could be used in unexpected ways. He realized that vigilance, patience, and cooperation were essential in situations like this. The officer's professionalism and Rex's instincts had prevented a serious problem from escalating, and he felt grateful for their dedication and skill. The team then began to trace the seller's information. They contacted the online marketplace, requesting details about the account and recent transactions. They also checked for any history of suspicious activity associated with the seller. Daniel provided the order confirmation, email correspondence, and delivery receipt. His willingness to share every detail helped the investigation progress efficiently. As the investigation unfolded, the officers began to piece together a clearer picture. The packages had been expertly hidden, but the choice of a wheelchair was unusual. Smugglers often relied on ordinary objects that would not draw attention, assuming that airport inspections would overlook them. Rex's keen sense of smell had thwarted this attempt, and the officers marveled at the dog's ability to detect what humans could not. Throughout the process, Daniel maintained a composed presence. He observed the officers, listened to their discussions, and responded politely when addressed. His patience was remarkable, given the stress of being involved in a serious investigation. The officers noted that his behavior was consistent with someone who was genuinely unaware of the hidden contents. Meanwhile, Rex continued to monitor the environment. The dog's alertness served as a reminder of the critical role trained animals play in security operations. Rex had already detected the hidden compartment, and his continued vigilance ensured that no other areas of the wheelchair were overlooked. The officers were confident that the immediate risk had been contained, thanks to Rex's instincts and training. As the hours passed, the specialized unit prepared to transport the packages for detailed laboratory analysis. They documented every aspect of the discovery, from the hidden compartment's construction to the appearance of the packages. Photographs, notes, and measurements were meticulously recorded. The goal was to ensure that the evidence could be used to trace the source of the contraband and identify the individuals responsible. Daniel observed the preparations quietly, reflecting on the professionalism of the officers and the efficiency of the investigation. He understood the importance of following procedures and trusted that the authorities would handle the situation appropriately. Despite the unexpected turn of events, he remained composed, demonstrating patience and understanding throughout. The officers then focused on ensuring Daniel's safety and comfort. They provided a temporary space where he could wait while the packages were removed and the wheelchair was secured. Daniel appreciated the consideration, knowing that the officers were balancing security with respect for passengers. He took the time to rest briefly, reflecting on how unusual and extraordinary the situation had been. The investigation team also considered the broader implications. The discovery highlighted the potential for everyday objects to be used in smuggling operations. It reinforced the importance of vigilance, attention to detail, and the value of trained detection dogs like Rex. The officers discussed the methods used by smugglers and the precautions needed to prevent similar incidents in the future. Daniel thought about Rex, the German shepherd who had frozen in front of his wheelchair. The dog's instincts had been remarkable, guiding the officers to the hidden compartment. Daniel felt a deep sense of respect and admiration for Rex, realizing that trained animals could perform extraordinary tasks that humans might never achieve. The dog had made a significant difference that day, and Daniel was grateful for its skill and dedication. Finally, the officers completed their preliminary investigation. They thanked Daniel for his cooperation and assured him that the matter would be thoroughly investigated to identify those responsible for hiding the packages. Daniel nodded politely, expressing his gratitude for their professionalism and skill. He understood that the discovery was critical for preventing the smuggling operation from continuing. As the packages were carefully transported to a secure laboratory, Daniel reflected on the events. A simple wheelchair, an alert dog, and a team of dedicated officers had combined to prevent a serious crime. What had started as an ordinary day at the airport had turned into an extraordinary experience. Daniel realized that patience, cooperation, and trust in trained professionals were essential in navigating unexpected challenges. Rex received a quiet pat from Officer Martinez before returning to the dog area. The dog had performed flawlessly, detecting what might have gone unnoticed. Daniel watched with a sense of admiration, understanding that Rex's instincts had prevented a potentially dangerous situation from escalating. The dog's contribution was invaluable, and it served as a reminder of the extraordinary skills that trained animals possessed. By the end of the day, Daniel's name had been cleared of any suspicion. The focus of the investigation shifted entirely to the source of the packages. Daniel was grateful for the fairness and professionalism of the officers, as well as for Rex's keen detection abilities. He realized that the experience had taught him valuable lessons about vigilance, patience, and the unexpected ways ordinary objects could be involved in complex situations. Even as he left the secure area, the events of the day remained vivid in Daniel's mind. He had witnessed firsthand how careful observation, professional expertise, and trained instincts could uncover hidden threats. The experience would stay with him, a reminder of the importance of patience, cooperation, and respect for those who work tirelessly to keep. The next morning, the airport was already busy with travelers hurrying to catch flights. But the events from the previous day still lingered in the minds of the officers and staff. Daniel Harris returned to the airport, this time not for inspection, but to meet with the investigation team. The officers had completed the laboratory analysis of the packages, and there was a clear understanding of what had occurred. Daniel wheeled himself quietly into the secure office, where the team was waiting with Rex by their side. The dog wagged his tail slightly, recognizing Daniel from the day before, and Daniel offered a small smile in return. Officer Martinez greeted him warmly. "Mr. Harris, thank you for coming in. We have completed the analysis and traced the packages back to their source. It appears that someone had deliberately used your wheelchair as a hiding place to smuggle substances. You had no knowledge of it, and everything confirms your innocence." Daniel nodded, a sense of relief washing over him. He had expected as much, but hearing it officially from the officers brought a deep comfort. The officers explained how the investigation had unfolded. The packages had been part of a planned smuggling operation, and the investigation team had traced the seller to a larger criminal network. The authorities were already taking steps to apprehend those responsible. Daniel listened carefully, understanding that the events he had been unknowingly caught up in were serious but also that he had been completely innocent. Rex, meanwhile, remained alert, standing close to Officer Martinez. The dog had been instrumental in discovering the hidden compartment, and the officers praised him for his exceptional instincts. Rex's training and focus saved the day, Officer Martinez said. Without him, these packages might have passed undetected. He was calm, patient, and precise, exactly what we need in situations like this. Daniel looked at Rex with admiration, appreciating how much skill and dedication the dog had shown. The officers then discussed the changes that would follow to prevent similar incidents in the future. They planned to strengthen inspections, especially for unusual or modified items, and emphasize the importance of vigilance even in ordinary situations. Daniel understood that this was not just about him, but about keeping all passengers safe. He felt grateful to have been treated with respect throughout the process. As the discussion continued, Daniel reflected on the entire experience. A simple wheelchair, a routine airport inspection, and a highly trained dog had combined to uncover a hidden threat. It was a reminder that even ordinary objects could conceal secrets, and that careful observation and patience were critical. Daniel realized how fortunate he had been, and he felt a deep respect for the officers and Rex, who had handled the situation so professionally. The conversation shifted to Daniel's personal experience. "You handled this situation remarkably well," one officer said. "Your calmness and cooperation made our work much easier and prevented any confusion or delay." Daniel smiled slightly. "I just tried to stay calm. I had nothing to hide, and I knew that the officers were doing their job. Getting nervous wouldn't have helped anyone." His words reflected not only honesty, but also maturity and understanding, qualities that left a strong impression on the officers. The investigation team then provided Daniel with advice on what to do next. They recommended verifying purchases of second-hand or online items carefully in the future, checking for any signs of modification, and remaining vigilant when receiving unusual deliveries. Daniel agreed, recognizing that even small precautions could prevent unexpected problems. He made a mental note to be more cautious when buying second-hand items in the future, understanding that smuggling methods could be creative and unpredictable. After the formal discussion, the officers allowed Daniel a moment to reflect and ask questions. He inquired about how Rex had detected the hidden compartment. Officer Martinez explained that the dog's keen sense of smell allowed him to detect substances even when they were carefully concealed. "Rex is trained to notice even the smallest traces," he said. "He can detect changes in material, odor, or structure that humans would never notice. That's why he froze in front of your wheelchair. His instincts guided us to the hidden packages immediately." Daniel nodded, impressed by the skill and training involved. As the meeting concluded, Daniel was allowed to leave the secure area. He wheeled himself through the terminal, noticing the usual hustle and bustle, but feeling a sense of calm. The events of the past day had been extraordinary, but they had also been a testament to vigilance, professionalism, and teamwork. He realized that ordinary moments could become extraordinary when people and animals work together to ensure safety. Outside the secure area, Rex received a final pat from Officer Martinez. The dog had performed perfectly, detecting what might have otherwise gone unnoticed. Daniel watched with appreciation, understanding the importance of trained animals in security operations. Rex's presence had made all the difference, turning a routine inspection into a successful intervention that prevented a potential crime. Back at his home later that day, Daniel reflected further on the incident. He thought about how ordinary life could sometimes bring unexpected challenges. A wheelchair, a trip through an airport, and a dog's instincts had intersected in a way he could never have imagined. He felt grateful that the officers and Rex had acted with professionalism, precision, and care, ensuring that he was not implicated and that the hidden threat was removed. Daniel also considered the larger lessons of the experience. He realized that trust, patience, and cooperation were essential in difficult situations. By remaining calm and honest, he had helped the officers complete their work efficiently. By observing the process carefully, he had learned more about how security measures function and how vigilance can prevent unexpected problems. These lessons would stay with him for lifetime. The investigation team later reported that the criminal network behind the hidden packages had been identified, and steps were being taken to prevent further smuggling attempts. Daniel's cooperation and the timely intervention of Rex had been key in uncovering the operation. The authorities recognized the importance of every person, every tool, and every trained animal involved in maintaining security. In the days that followed, the story of Daniel, Rex, and the hidden packages began to circulate quietly among airport staff and travelers. It became a story of vigilance, skill, and the unexpected ways that safety measures can prevent danger. Daniel felt a quiet pride in having handled the situation with composure and integrity. He also felt a deep respect for Rex, whose instincts had guided the officers to the hidden compartment and prevented potential harm. Daniel resumed his normal routine, but the experience remained vivid in his mind. Every time he thought about the day, he remembered the calm professionalism of the officers, the precision of the investigation, and the remarkable instincts of Rex. The events had shown him that ordinary people and trained animals could work together to uncover hidden threats, even in situations that seemed routine at first. The airport authorities later recognized Rex with a small commendation for his exceptional work. Officer Martinez proudly presented the dog with a medal of recognition, praising him for his focus, dedication, and skill. Daniel watched the ceremony quietly, feeling honored to have been part of the story in which Rex had played such a crucial role. It was a moment that highlighted the extraordinary capabilities of trained detection dogs and the importance of their partnership with human officers. As Daniel wheeled through the terminal on his way home, he felt a renewed sense of appreciation for the people and animals who worked tirelessly to keep airports safe. He thought about how ordinary moments could turn extraordinary when vigilance, cooperation, and skill intersected. The experience had changed him, giving him a deeper understanding of the importance of calmness, patience, and trust in professionals. Finally, Daniel reflected on Rex once more. The dog had frozen in front of his wheelchair, guiding the officers to the hidden compartment with instinct and precision. That single moment had made all the difference. Daniel smiled to himself, grateful for the remarkable canine companion who had prevented a serious problem from escalating. Rex's work was a reminder that extraordinary skills often go unnoticed until a critical moment arises, and that patience and vigilance could uncover truths hidden in plain sight. By the end of the day, the incident was fully resolved. Daniel had been cleared of any suspicion, the hidden packages had been secured, and the criminal network was under investigation. The airport staff, officers, and Rex had performed admirably, ensuring that safety was maintained and justice could follow. Daniel felt a deep sense of gratitude, knowing that the extraordinary teamwork of humans and animals had prevented a potential disaster. The story of Daniel, Rex, and the hidden packages remained a quiet but powerful example of vigilance and integrity. It was a reminder that ordinary objects could conceal secrets, that trained instincts could reveal hidden truths, and that calm, patient cooperation could make all the difference in unexpected situations. Daniel carried these lessons with him, understanding that even in ordinary moments, extraordinary outcomes were possible when people and animals worked together with focus, honesty, and care.